Senate confirmation hearings began Tuesday for 5 of President-elect Biden's cabinet picks. Lawmakers questioned his picks for Secretary of State, Treasury, Defense, and Homeland Security, as well as Mr. Biden's pick for Director of National Intelligence. While all are likely to be confirmed by the full Senate, it won't be before the president-elect officially takes office. CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes has the latest.
Do you solemnly swear to give this?
It's another sign of the changing of the guard. Confirmation hearings today for 1/3 of the Biden cabinet, who signaled a major break from the past 4 years.
Climate change is a critical problem facing the country.
When it comes to intelligence, there is simply no place for politics ever.
Alejandro Mayorkas, nominated to lead Homeland Security, said he'll immediately halt construction of President Trump's border wall.
Would you tear down parts of the wall? Would you stop the construction that's going on?
I have not looked at the question of what we do with respect to the wall that already has been built, and I look forward to studying that question, understanding the costs and benefits of doing so.
Secretary of State nominee Tony Blinken is a longtime Biden foreign policy advisor.
What would you tell the people in a caravan coming toward America?
I would say do not come.
Yeah, I think that's a good message.
Former Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen, tapped to lead Treasury, argued the best remedy for a COVID-racked economy is more stimulus.
Right now, with interest rates at historic lows, the smartest thing we can do is act big.
Defense pick Lloyd Austin vowed to root out any extremism in the military.
The job of the Department of Defense is to keep America safe from our enemies. But we can't do that if some of those enemies lie within our own ranks.
And Nancy Cordes joins me now. So, Nancy, we heard from 5 of the president-elect's cabinet picks Tuesday. How did their views differ from their predecessors in the Trump administration?
They differ in almost every way possible, Elaine, and that was quite clear even from their opening statements. When you heard nominee after nominee talk about what they wanted to do once in office, it was clear that they would like to roll back a lot of what the Trump administration had done, and also clear that they are looking to set a different tone. So, for example, the Secretary of State nominee, Tony Blinken, said in his opening statement that humility and confidence needed to be shown by the United States to the outside world in equal measure. And you had Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary nominee, saying that climate change, in her view, is such a threat that she wants to look into exactly what it is doing to the economy. Something that really was not a top concern at all for the Trump administration, and just on and on. The policies that they have already laid out, the executive orders that President-elect Biden wants to sign on day one. It is a complete rejection of the Trump platform, and that's why you saw so many questions in these hearings from Republicans who are wondering what parts of the Trump legacy, if any, are going to remain intact and which parts are going to be rolled back, particularly, I think, when it comes to immigration. That was one of their biggest concerns because the Biden platform is so different from the Trump platform.
Yeah, it's interesting, Nancy. Republicans did press Treasury Secretary nominee Janet Yellen on Mr. Biden's $1.9 trillion economic relief package. What is it that they're actually concerned about, and how did Yellen respond?
They are concerned about the price tag. They say that, look, Congress has already spent about $4 trillion to prop up the economy. They're worried about how much more it could cost, what that does to the debt. Janet Yellen, who is an economist, who was the chair of President Clinton's Council of Economic Advisors, went on to be the Federal Reserve Chair. This is something she knows a thing or two about. She made a couple of arguments. First of all, she said that the debt, yes, is a concern, but it takes a backseat to concerns about the economy, because if you let this economy founder, then the impact is even worse. It takes the country longer to climb out of a hole. It means people are making less, therefore paying fewer taxes, and that hurts the government's bottom line too. So she really made a full-throated case for going big, in her words, and spending more, especially because interest rates are so low right now. She argued that the country could afford to borrow a little bit more to dig out of the economic hole that we're in right now.
Meantime, Nancy, Mr. Biden's picks for defense and Homeland Security secretaries face some hurdles when it comes to being confirmed. Why is that?
Two different situations. When it comes to Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, who is the nominee, was, really sort of laying out the Biden approach to immigration reform, which is something that is, really anathema to a lot of Republicans, particularly when they talk about halting construction of a border wall and reinstating some protections for DACA recipients, the Dreamers, that kind of thing. And so Josh Hawley, who is a Republican senator from Missouri, he announced that he would be placing a hold on swift confirmation of Mayorkas. That doesn't mean he can block his confirmation altogether. It just means that Democrats will have to go through a few more procedural hurdles to get Mayorkas confirmed, which is a blow because they really believe that he is the most important nominee to get confirmed right away if they can, especially because of what we saw here at the Capitol a couple of weeks ago, a lot of Homeland Security threats that need to be addressed. When it comes to Lloyd Austin, the nominee for defense, the situation there is that there's actually a law that says that individuals who are recently retired from the military cannot be nominated to serve in a civilian role like Secretary of Defense, and he falls into that category where he did recently retire. He's a retired general. And so what Democrats need to do is basically they need to take an extra step here, and they need to hold a vote on a waiver that would allow him to serve in that role as a defense secretary. This is not unprecedented. President Trump's defense nominee, James Mattis, had to go through the same thing. He is expected to get that waiver, but it just means that his nomination will take a little bit of extra time as well.
Well, Nancy, we know none of President-elect Biden's cabinet picks will be confirmed by the Senate by the time he's inaugurated. How unusual is that, and how is the Biden administration addressing that issue?
Well, they're addressing it by putting interim heads in place at various agencies. Interestingly, the leader of the Senate for one more day, Mitch McConnell, sent a letter to his Republican colleagues in which he suggested that perhaps we could see some confirmation votes on Wednesday. It's unclear who that would be for. If that does happen, then perhaps President-elect Biden would have one or two of his cabinet picks confirmed, not before he takes the oath of office, but afterwards, sometime in the afternoon. But it's still not going to be anything like President Obama, who had 6 of his cabinet picks confirmed on the day that he took office on January 20th. And actually, he had 7 in place if you count his defense secretary, Robert Gates, who was a holdover from the Bush administration. So it's a setback for the Biden administration. They do have some plans in place to backstop it, but obviously they would love to have their nominees all in place as soon as possible. And it'll help that on Wednesday, Democrats will take control of the Senate. Chuck Schumer will be the majority leader with the ability to set the schedule, and that will enable them to speed up some of these confirmations.
All right, Nancy Cordes for us. Nancy, thank you.
You're welcome.